What is the secret to unlocking your full potential? What makes your idols any different than you? How do you become the person you've always wanted to be in life? This is where you get all of your questions answered. My name is Justin Shank, and I sit down with some of the most epic individuals who are changing the world with their actions in business and in life. We discuss how they did it, why they pushed themselves, and more importantly, how they were able to focus on continuous growth to achieve their dreams. Welcome to the Growth Now movement. This week, I sit down with Chris Norton. What would you do if you were told you could never walk again? That's exactly what happened to my guest this week, Chris. After a college football accident, while colliding headfirst during a tackle, Chris broke his neck and lost all feeling from the neck down. He was told he would never walk again. Then, on the day of his college graduation, Chris took 10 impossible steps to receive his diploma that day. In this episode, we talk about what it took to be able to overcome and achieve those goals, how he uses it with his wife and 5 adopted children now, and how you can start using this mindset in your life to achieve the impossible. This episode is extremely inspiring. I promise you that after hearing, you're going to want to go achieve your biggest and greatest dreams. I had a blast talking with Chris, and I think you guys are going to love this conversation. Now, before we get there, do not forget to grab your tickets to Growth Now Movement Live. I'm announcing the 6th keynote speaker tomorrow. You guys are absolutely going to love it. It's really shaping up to be a truly impactful day and a half for entrepreneurs, forward thinkers, and people looking to level up in all areas of their life. Now, if that's you, head over to gnmlive.com and grab your tickets today. I can't wait to share the energy, the information, and the knowledge that is going to come from the incredible speakers and movement makers at this event with you guys. It's truly going to be life-changing. I cannot wait to see you there. Now, without further ado, let's get to the episode with Chris Norton. Chris, welcome to the show, man.
Yeah, thanks, Justin. Happy to be here.
Yeah, we were connected through Joel Marion, and I said this before I hit record, but anybody he connects me to, I'm like, yes, I want this person in my life, number one. But number two, I looked into your story, and it's the perfect story that fits into what this show is all about, which is about overcoming adversity, growing into the person that the world needs you to be, and all those amazing things. And I was just so insanely excited to have you on, man. So I'm excited. So why don't we dive in a little bit? Why don't we talk about who Chris is today? And then we can talk about how you got there.
Yeah. I mean, so today, living a pretty happy life with a family. I am married, been married for almost 2 years, year and a half now. I have 5 children. I have a 3-year-old, 6-year-old, an 8-year-old, 10-year-old, 20-year-old. I'm 27.
Oh my
and
gosh.
So people might be scratching their head like, wait, how does that even make sense? We're foster and adoptive parents. And so we've fostered 17 children. We've adopted 5. And then, I'm an author of 2 books. The first, The Power of Faith When Tragedy Strikes, I wrote with my dad, author of The 7 Longest Yards, which I wrote with my wife, Emily. And then, we have a movie coming out. I'm a motivational speaker, so that's what keeps me busy. Do 40 plus events a year.
Wow.
Traveling the country for different keynotes, opening, closing keynotes. And then, just trying to make a difference, add value to people's lives, inspire them. I suffer a severe spinal cord injury, so I'm in a wheelchair. And so my mobility is limited. But I'm grateful for the mobility that I do have. I can get around in this manual chair that has power-assisted wheels. I don't have a lot of movement in my arms, but enough movement to get around, and then a little movement in my legs. And I'm just trying to make the most out of life, and I love my life too. So I'm just grateful to be where I'm at.
Yeah. And obviously people are probably hearing all that and they're like, holy crap. Like, how do you even juggle all that? Like, that's, first of all, 5 kids.
Yep. 5 kids.
So 5 kids, you're obviously in a wheelchair, which you are able to do pretty much everything. You drive, you get around, you clearly travel the world. 40 stops a year is not
anything to bat an eye at. I do about 12 and I'm exhausted from just the 12. And so I couldn't even imagine. But like, let's talk about how you got to that point, because you were a college football player, really super physically able, in great shape, all these other things. And what happened? Let's talk about that day, and then we can talk about the mindset and everything that goes with it.
Yeah. So on this beautiful fall day, October 16, 2010, it was the 6th game of the season. I worked my way up to the kind of starting ranks for the special teams units, kind of pushing some playing time as a strong safety. And then on the third quarter, we're mounting this comeback. We're kicking the ball off, and I'm sprinting downfield as hard as I can to cover the kick. I'm just trying to make a play for my teammates, and I see my opening, and I know that ball carrier is going to run through. My instincts tell me that he's going to be coming through there. And so I make a diving play for anticipating when he's going to come through. And I anticipated it wrong. I mistimed my jump. And instead of getting my head and body across his legs, my head collided right with his legs. And in an instant, I'm face down, motionless. The whistle blows, the pile clears, but I don't. I'm trying to push off the ground. And I'm completely conscious at this time. Like,
wow.
I felt like a routine tackle. It literally did. It wasn't one of those plays where sometimes you watch on TV. If you ever watch football, there might be times like, ooh, like you kind of like sends a shiver like up your spine, and you're just like, ow, like how can he get up and walk out of that? This play was just like, why is he not walking out of that play? I mean, for me, when I watch that play, and I'm just trying to get off the ground and nothing's working, so I'm just like, okay, just give it a little time. It's probably just a stinger. Like a stinger is just like a pinched nerve that kind of temporarily kind of makes your body like motionless and numb, almost like a Novocaine, a full body Novocaine shot.
Right.
And athletic trainers get involved. The game is stopped. I'm embarrassed because I don't want the game to stop for me. I want to just get off the sidelines. I don't want that attention. And slowly but surely, the signs were starting to point towards this is not good. And what I didn't know at the time was I suffered a severe spinal cord injury. It was a C3, C4 fracture, which is a fracture up really high up in your neck. And then a grade 4 dislocation, which is one of the most severe dislocations you can have of your spine.
Wow.
And then I was flown out for emergency surgery.
So what were you thinking? I know you said you kind of walked through like, oh, I thought it was a stinger at first, but what was the thought in your head when that moment of, oh, wow, like I'm paralyzed?
So there was never a moment where I'm like, oh, I'm paralyzed. Except first I'm thinking, just keep staying calm because bad things happen to other people. Like nothing bad ever happened to me. Mm-hmm. So I'm thinking, bad things happen to people you read about in the newspaper, that you watch on television. Maybe they're a guest on your podcast, but there's no way that bad's going to happen to me. I felt like I was invincible, like I was immune to something crazy happening because my first 18 years of life, I got through it unscathed. And so I'm pretty calm, but then like little moments started to kind of like increase my fear. So the athletic trainer, started asking questions like, Chris, can you make a fist with your hand? Try making a fist, try moving my arm. Nothing is moving or responding. It felt like I was just like a floating head. Like my rest of my body was just completely disconnected. And then they're asking me, Chris, can you feel us touching your legs? I couldn't feel a thing. And they just keep asking these questions to test whether anything was coming back or responding. And the answer was no, like nothing was working. And so I was trying to push it down, this fear that kept bubbling up and bubbling up. They rolled me onto my back, and I make eye contact with a student athletic trainer, and I could just see in her eyes, she's absolutely terrified. Like she's horrified with what's going on. And that was like one of my other first inclination, like, is something bad happening? Like what is going on? There's no way something bad's going on. And then the paramedics get involved, and then they call in for a helicopter. When they called in for a helicopter, that was like the switch that just like confirmed, like this is too big of an issue for the local hospital to take care of. Like this requires an emergency like evacuation to get me to another place. That's when I was just like, oh my gosh. And I closed my eyes because it was like so surreal. Like I could hardly process like what was going on. So I just try to like escape just by closing my eyes. Like I wasn't there. And I try to put myself like in a different reality. And I just pray. I just pray to God, just like, please God, just give me the strength. Like let this be just a big scare. And if this is a scare, like can the joke be over? Like I'm freaked out. Like if I'm supposed to gain something out of this, like a new perspective or whatever it is, like the value of life, like the message has been received. Can we now like move on? And little did I know that this is gonna be a life altering situation.
Yeah. So from there, obviously, excuse me, I'm battling a cold, unfortunately. But when I hear this, I can't even imagine what then the next months and years were for you, because, and people who kind of know your story, it ends with you walking across the stage at your graduation. And then now walking down the aisle at your wedding and all these incredible things when you were given a 3% chance to walk, right?
3% chance to move or feel.
Wow.
Beyond a walk. Yeah. This is worse than a walk. 3% chance to be able to scratch an itch on your face, to be able to feed yourself.
Wow.
Little things that are easily taken for granted.
Yeah. So when you were told that, like, you've got a 3% chance to ever feel or move again, what was your mindset like? Were you like, I'm going to take that 3%, or were you crushed?
At the moment, it was surreal. Like it was just like, what? Like,
yeah,
this is my life. Like, went from this college athlete. Like the day before I was walking, I was suiting up for my college football game. Now I'm lying here paralyzed with a 3% chance of ever moving again. Like what? Like this cannot be real. But then like these emotions, this I don't know, this grit, this stubbornness was just like, no way, not me. This is not going to be my life. Like, I will not accept this. Like, I'm going to beat it. I'm not going to be part of that, 97% that doesn't recover from this. I'm going to do whatever it takes to be that 3%. And I'm going to get going to work. Like, they don't know me. Like, they might be for some other people, but I'm going to beat this. Like, I'm going to do whatever in my power to overcome this. Like, there's no way. Like, I love my life. Like, the life I was living before, like, I loved it. I would do anything at that time for it. So I was thinking, I'm going to beat this. Like, I'm going to get back to my old life, and I'll do what it takes. So that first day, I just started nodding my head yes and no. That was the only movement I could do. Wow. And I just kept nodding my head yes and no. I looked like a giant bobblehead, just like bouncing my head around. But I just kept working. Eventually, I shrugged my left shoulder, and I was ecstatic. I mean, I got to shrug my left shoulder. I couldn't move that before. But I'm not gonna lie though, like this, as soon as you get your shoulder shrugging and you're excited for that, but you're like, wait, I have so far to go. Wow. Like that's all I can do is shrug my shoulder. So like that excitement quickly turned to disappointment. And then at nighttime, all my fears just started pouring out. I hated going to bed. And that was the worst. It got quiet. I had to think about everything I was dealing with in my future. And these emotions just poured out of me. Because during the day, I was pretty optimistic. I was pretty upbeat. I was just really focused into like, what can I do today? What can I do right now to move forward? And that just kept my spirits up. And I think that's true for anyone. Like when you're going through something tough, don't get caught up in the past. Don't get caught up with your future. Just get caught up in this moment right now, because that's the only moment that you can truly make a difference in. And that's how you can go from like panic to believing everything's going to be okay, just by taking like one little positive step forward. And that's what I was just doing every single day. But then at nighttime, I couldn't escape that reality. And that was tough.
Yeah. And I guess those moments when you're alone, right? And you're just like, that's when you're left with your thoughts versus being able to push through in those moments. And I'm sure all your day was filled with a lot of hard work too, with physical therapy and all the things that you had going on. I couldn't even imagine. So where did this clearly overall, like, I think when you get to the points where you're alone and the emotions hit you, that's one thing, but overall you were extremely positive and driven. Where did that even come from for you?
It came up from my upbringing and my experiences growing up. So really it was like everything leading up to this that helped prepare me to handle this like life altering adversity. And it was this optimistic mindset that I developed for myself. And I just always then taking action with whenever a struggle, whenever an obstacle came my way as a kid, I learned that I have to take action as quick as possible. So these things were already in place. And then when this huge, giant obstacle came, I was able to apply the exact same principles and work my way through it. So just like I can remember, this all kind of turned a corner for me. I was probably about 10 years old. I had this weekend basketball tournament. I love basketball, huge competitor. My dad, he's like this state champion coach, state champion player, has a lot of accolades. So he has high expectations for me. I do myself. And I played horrible. Like I was awful. Like I was supposed to be, like, one of the stars in the team, and I probably hurt my team more than I helped them that weekend. And I'm coming home after this weekend tournament, tears are in my eyes. My dad's so mad, disappointed. And I get home, I kick my shoes off, and I go straight to the couch and just try to, get myself lost in TV or, video games, whatever it could to help me not deal with my problems. And then my dad, he eventually comes over and was like, Chris, if you don't like where you're at, then do something about it. And I was like, it just hit me. I just paused. Wow. Yeah, you're right. If I truly don't like, failing and coming up short with basketball, coming up short with school and my grades, and why am I complaining? Why am I not actually taking action to improve and better myself? And that's when I just it just hit me this is a waste of time. Trying to distract myself, trying to just bury it, trying to just ignore it is just a waste. Complaining is a waste. I got to work at it. I just got to do my part. I know I'm capable of more. So I just started taking action, and I got up and I started practicing my basketball. I started working on my school, and it was just kind of this turning point in my life of, wow, complaining is such a waste of time. I'm just going to do something about it. Yeah. And so that kind of mentality came into huge play with my injury. I had to do something about it. I was going to get moving forward no matter what it was.
Yeah. And at 10 years old, that's pretty amazing. And obviously I'm sure there were ups and downs with that thought process, but that's absolutely amazing. And that's what you took into this struggle of trying to regain feeling and movement and again, walk. So what was that journey like from, okay, I shrugged my shoulder to where you got to as far as walking across that stage? What did that look like as far as, what kind of work did you put in, and how does that relate to other people? Because I know that what you talk about is when your story isn't about you, it's about everybody. We all kind of, face these things. So let's talk about that a little bit in that journey.
Yeah, I would say, again, something that was key was just staying present. Don't get caught up with the future. Fear only comes when you worry about your future or you fret about repeating the past. And again, it comes down to this moment right here, right now, today. And so just making sure that you keep your mind present. And then the other thing that really helped me was focusing on those little victories, the moments of progress. I'll never forget. It's 2 weeks in, and I'm working on curling my left arm to my shoulder, just a simple arm curl, but with no weight. And I'm starting to kind of do it. And then my OT, occupational therapist, grabs an ankle weight, just a half-pound ankle weight, straps it around my wrist. And I'm thinking oh man, this is going to be hard. This weight is a ton of weight for me. And so I'm lifting it up and my arm's shaking. I have my family kind of there support me, and they're watching, anticipating. And I finally get it up to my shoulder, and everyone's excited. I'm excited. I'm wow, I just did this. What great progress. And then I think about how, just 2 weeks ago, how much weight I could curl compared to now. And all this joy, this excitement, this progress, this milestone just was ripped away from me. I felt myself fighting back tears. And it just was a moment that I had to shake off and get and acknowledge that this is progress. This is a huge milestone for me. And I had to take this and run with it and celebrate it. And so for someone who's going through something difficult and you're trying to pick yourself back up, celebrate those moments of progress and those victories and look for it too. Like, I think it's so easy that we're always trying to like look for what's going wrong, and we try to find things that prove that our lives are going the wrong direction. But I challenge people to look in the other way, like change your lens to find the things that are working. Because if you only focus on what's wrong, you'll never see what's right. And so, what you're looking for and what you're seeing is so important with that, keeping positive and keeping motivated to move forward. So it was those moments of victories that kept me encouraged to keep trying. And if I wasn't paying attention to it, if I kept comparing myself to the past or where I wanted to be, I wouldn't be where I'm at right now.
Yeah, that's so crazy. And I think that people look at other people on social media and they're like, I don't have that yet. I can't do that yet. I don't have the six pack. I don't have the mansion, I don't have the car, all these things that people strive for. Right. And you were doing that to yourself. Like, I couldn't even imagine what it was like to be like, yeah, but 2 weeks ago I could do this. And, people are struggling overcoming the whole social media thing, let alone, hey, I actually used to be that. I couldn't even imagine that mental struggle as far as pushing through, but totally being in the moment. So how do you keep yourself present in the moment at all times?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's taking an action. It's like taking like even the smallest step forward in this present moment. And then also to Mel Robbins does the 5-second rule of just literally just counting down from 5 seconds to kind of revert your brain from the back side to the front lobe side. Actually, we do that with our kids. Not necessarily the 5-second rule, but just little things to keep them present and keep our back part's our survival part of our brain that sends the fear and these worries and these things that really aren't really going to affect our lives. But we make it that it's going to be this huge ordeal. But if we can kind of stay focused with present items and action steps, and even that 5-second rule that Mel Robbins does, like those are some really simple, easy ways to kind of like get out of that mindset of worry and future thinking or comparison.
Yeah. I love that. And I love that you're kind of passing it off to your kids. So how are you teaching your kids to do that without necessarily the 5-second rule?
Yeah. So when the kid or someone gets really rattled and shaken up, their brain's really shaken up. Almost, I compare it to it's like a snow globe, right? You have a snow globe, it's clear. You shake it up, it's all clouded. That's what happens when we get worked up, when we get anxious, when we get worried, when we have a lot of fear. And to settle the glitter in the globe, you got to work the front part of your brain. And so simple ways that we work the front part of the brains that we do with our kids is like with my 6-year-old, I do it all the time. Is like, hey, is 1 + 1 3? And then it stops her. Like, she'd be bawling, crying, like freaking out about something. Like, there's something in my closet. And then it just like stops in her tracks. She's like, no, it's 2. Like, what are you talking about? I'm like, oh, okay. So 2 + 2 is 5. And then she's like, no, it's 4. Like, what are you? And then all of a sudden she's completely fine. She's settled. All because her front part of her brain is now working in it because it shut down that globe, that the glitter was clouding her front part. It was just the back survival part. And it happens with adults too. Like we get shooken up and we're not rationally thinking. We're not using the front part of our brain. So things like that 5-second rule gets you working the front part of your brain versus the back part of your brain. So you can kind of like settle those emotions and get into action. And
Yeah, I love that. And it's such a great way and a visualization as far as what's actually happening in our brains, because it does happen to adults. It probably happens to adults more often than it happens to children as far as letting ourselves get worked up. And I wish it was sometimes as easy as saying, wait, 1 + 1 is 3, right? To ourselves.
Yeah, I know, right? I wish.
But yeah, man, I mean, it's just obviously this incredible journey. And now you're speaking all over the world and impacting lives. And it seems like this crazy switch, right? But I'm sure you're still going through that struggle, still trying to improve. The ultimate goal. What's your ultimate goal with all this?
Really my ultimate goal is just to make a difference, to really like stir people to making a better life and living a better life. And really, like, if we can just change our focus, we can change our reality. And a lot of times people think that we need to change our reality to change like how we feel and like who we are, but it's really not. It's just what we're choosing to see, like kind of our mindset. And so I'm hoping that, with my experiences, I can kind of help people shift that. And like when I'm done speaking, I get that all the time when people are like, man, like I can't, what do I have to complain about? Like, why do I feel so sorry for myself? Why am I not doing more with my life? And I just like, I really need this today.
Yeah.
Like, I really needed this to get going and to stop with my, pessimistic attitude and mindset. And like, I love hearing that. And so I just feel like this calling, this injury kind of just gave me this opportunity, this platform to be able to speak about how to, shift your mindset and how to take action and do something about your life when you're not feeling good about it, when you want more for yourself. And so that's really my goal, because so you talked about the graduation walk. So this was like this goal that I set shortly after my injury, that I want to walk across the stage of my college graduation. And I wanted to show people that I could defy the odds, but I wanted to walk again. Like that was my ultimate goal, was like, if I'm going to be happy, fulfilled, and feel successful with my life, I have to walk. And so I put in like hours and hours, like, sometimes 6 hours a day, 5 times a week of work for this one graduation walk, just to walk like, 4 yards across the stage. And I was able to accomplish it. But along that journey, I realized the more I live, and like kind of like the richer my life became with like the relationships and my perspective, the more I realized I didn't need to walk in order to be successful or happy. Like I can be sitting in my chair the rest of my life and live an excellent, great life.
Yeah.
And I know that. And it's just all about keeping a healthy mindset. And that's what I strive to do, is just keep my mind right and doing the things that helps me bring out joy and feel purposeful. And so I think that's really important for me as far as like future, like down the road. Would I love to be able to get more movement back in the walk? Absolutely. Like that'd be great. I'm hopeful for that, but I'm very like content with where I'm at. I'm going to continue to train and work on improving myself physically, but that's not where I'm going to put all my joy and happiness in, whether I get those results.
Yeah, no, and I love that mindset, man. And there's a guy named Ed Milet who he's actually over my shoulder, who said, life is happening for us, not to us. And you really live that. You really live that mindset of understanding that, like, look, I can't control what's happening around me. I can't control that this had happened, but why is it happening for me? And you've really created like this ultimate life where you're now impacting so many others, man. And it's really inspiring to see. Now, what would possess a 27-year-old to adopt 5 children and foster 17 total? That's a great question for anybody.
That is a good question, right? It's how we got to that point is crucial. Like, so Emily, and we share in our book, The 7 Longest Yards, like how that really like came about. But so Emily, my wife, she is a rock star, like loves children, like has all this energy, patience, and love to give for them. And just growing up, she's always kind of poured her heart and soul into kids who've been struggling. And one in particular was Whitley, and she mentored Whitley, and Whitley's now our 20-year-old. But so when Whitley was younger, she got placed in the foster care system, and this opened up Emily's eyes as she's trying to help her, what this world is like, this foster care system, when they don't have good parents that are tending to them and are making good choices, and they feel unloved and not special, and broke Emily's heart. And she just knew she was called to do more in that area. And so when we were 23, 24 years old, living in Florida, a little apartment, she received a call from Whitley when Whitley was 17 years old, and Whitley crying, begging, like, Emily, will you guys please be my foster parents? We're like, whoa, like, we're only 23, 24 years old. You're 17 years old. We have a little 2-bedroom apartment. I don't know how that's going to work. We would be her 19th placement.
Wow.
She's been through 18 other placements. No one else would take her. They were going to put her in juvenile detention until she aged out of the system. And so we talked about, what would happen if we said yes and all the challenges that would come with it. But we also talked about, what would happen if we said no? And that was powerful enough to know that we got to give her a chance. We got to give her a shot, and we're her last resort. No one else wants her. No, she's tried with family. She's tried with foster parents. They've all failed. And we felt like we could give her the best opportunity. So we said yes. And we got the license and everything. And we were able, and our ultimate goal was, okay, we're going to get her to graduate high school. And we were able to get her to graduate high school, which was awesome. And we did have our challenges, but we also had a lot of fun too. Probably one of my favorite experiences were when we go out in public. One time, Whitley called in sick from school. Myself and a buddy went to go pick her up, and I'm at the nurse's office. And, hey, I'm here to pick up Whitley. And she looks at me, the nurse. I was like, students aren't allowed to check another student out of school.
That's great.
Yeah, and then Whitley chimes in, oh, no, that's my dad. And the nurse is like, what? Like, she's trying to do like the math in her head. Like, this doesn't look right. But just like little moments like that were hilarious. And she would do that in public too. Like, mom or dad, and then people are just like turning their heads like, what? But that just started our foster care journey. And so after Whitley moved out after graduation, she wanted to go back to her hometown. We opened up, we got a home, and we opened up our home to other children, younger children. And, I was like, hey, we're going to do one child like under the age of 2. Our first placement was a 2-month-old and a 2-year-old. So we had 2 kids. And I'm like, this is crazy. Like, how can we do this? Like, this is insane. But then you realize you can take on more than what you think you can handle by just like trying it and stretching yourself. And so we kept stretching ourselves until we ended up getting 5 kids in our care. 4 of them were these 4 sisters. It's a sibling group. And then we ended up adopting this sibling group of 4. We had 7 kids in our care at one time. But it's like, we just kept stretching ourselves, but we kept realizing though our potential by pushing those limits. And so I think that's how you can realize your potential, is by stretching yourself. You got to try and push your own limits, because a lot of times we set our own boundaries for ourselves.
Yeah.
And we put the boundary down without ever really testing it. And I think you got to test those boundaries to find out what you're made of. And that's how you can really live life to the fullest, is by pushing those boundaries, because I had my boundaries up for sure. Like, this is no way. Thankfully though, I had someone like Emily in my life to help push that. And I realized that we could do it, and we could not only just survive, but thrive. So that's another thing too. Find pushy people in your life to push you outside your comfort zone.
For sure.
I think that's huge.
Yeah, that is absolutely huge. And it's so true, man. So one question that I ask every single person that I interview, and I do this because, I have the opportunity to talk to some amazing, successful people, however you want to define success. And so my question for you is, what's your definition of success? And what are 3 things you do every single day to ensure that success for yourself?
Okay, I would say success is when you live a life of love, and then you give love. And that, like, at the end of the day, at the end of my life, I think I'd feel successful if like I go to the ground knowing I gave it all I had and I had nothing else to give. I think that would just be a great way to go out, and to know just like I made those around me better, and I just add more to this world and took less. I think that would be my definition of success. Then you asked the second question. What was the second question?
Yeah, the 3 things you do every single day to ensure that success for yourself.
Okay, 3 things. I think the first thing is I get myself in a state of gratitude. Like, just I'm always trying to be thankful and looking to the things that I have that's working. I think it's my faith as well. Just like having a faith in God has really keeps me grounded and just keeps me grateful for everything I have in life. And so I think just doing that every single day, of just looking and being intentional about what I have. I think the other thing too is just having strong relationships. I think, just pouring into relationships and they pouring into me. So like my parents, my wife, my friends, I think all those things just give me life to keep moving forward. And then 3 too, I think it's considering who's counting on you. So knowing that those people are in my life, I know they're counting on me to be my best example. And because I'm conscious that they're watching me and how I handle my adversity, I feel this responsibility to show them like what love, hard work, perseverance, positivity is all about. And so I like that pressure of knowing like I have kids, I have friends, parents, my wife, people looking to me as an example.
Yeah. No, so 5 kids and a dog.
Yeah, that's my dog, Ivory. We might have a package here.
You're good. That is that's crazy. Just another thing to take care of. Yeah, man. So the one thing that I get from you is that you're clearly wise beyond your years. Like, first of all, you look super young. Like, you look younger than 27. I don't mean that as an insult, but you do. But then even 27 is young, and then you look younger than that. But I feel like I'm talking to a wise old man, just with everything that you've kind of gained over your lifetime, which is phenomenal, dude. So, I wrap up every single interview with the same question. But before we get there, how do people get a hold of you? Where do they find you? What's the best place to connect online? All that good stuff.
Yeah, so I have a website, chrisnorton.org. That's where you can find my speaking. I also have a nonprofit, the Chris Norton Foundation. We run a wheelchair camp every summer, which is a ton of fun. That's where also information about we have an upcoming movie, my books, and then also my social media. So I'm pretty active on Instagram and Facebook, also Twitter. So find me on there. My handle is Chris A Norton 16. But yeah, connect with me there. I'd love it.
Dude, I love it, man. So like I said, I wrap up every single episode with this one question. And since it's called the Growth Now Movement, the question is, in your life, what has been your biggest moment of growth?
Biggest moment of growth is when I've been knocked down the hardest. So every single time where I'm just like feeling like I've been laid out flat on my back, like literally on the football field, times as a husband, times as a father, times as an entrepreneur, as a speaker. And I feel like every single time I've been able to grow the most is when I've been hit the hardest. I think that's times of, obstacles and challenges really help you reclaim the unknown parts of yourselves and to find out what you're really made of. And that's when I learned the most about myself and the opportunities and the potential that I have. Potential a lot of times I don't even realize exists until I'm pushed to those limits. So I'm always trying to then keep myself in a place where I have to push those comfort boundaries because it's easy to stay in that comfortable place. So all adversity has really helped me grow the most and learn about myself.
Awesome. Chris, I want to thank you so much for coming on and sharing your wisdom and your journey and your story. But more importantly, thank you for overcoming and thank you for inspiring the world to continue to rise up and truly make a difference, man. This has been incredible. So glad we were able to connect and meet. Hopefully we can stay in touch, and just thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, thank you so much. Take care.
Thank you guys so much for being a part of the Growth Now movement. This is how you can really help me out. If you guys enjoyed this episode, please share it out on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all that fun stuff. And let's grow this movement to epic heights. And it's all going to be because of you guys. Thank you so much, and we'll see you next week.